There is a question that lingers in every person's mind, but few dare to face it head-on. What is the fastest way to rise from nothing to wealth, from obscurity to power? People spend their lives chasing this answer, yet most of them end up empty-handed, worn out by years of effort that never seems to pay off. The truth is not hidden in some secret formula, nor in endless books written by so-called experts. The truth has always been simple, but uncomfortable. The fastest way to riches is not about hard work, and it is not about luck. It is about psychology, about the way humans are wired to follow, to obey, to give their time, money, and energy to those who appear stronger. The ones who rise fast are not always the smartest or the most skilled. They are the ones who understand how to bend the invisible strings of human behavior. This is what Machiavelli understood centuries ago when he wrote about power, and this is what still applies today. If you want to get rich quickly, you cannot think like a servant, you must think like a strategist. You must see the world not as it should be, but as it really is. And when you see it clearly, you will understand that wealth flows to those who create control, who seize opportunities when others hesitate, and who dare to make moves so bold that everyone else is left watching in silence. Now here is the harsh reality most people will never accept. They think the path to riches is a straight road of working harder, saving carefully and waiting patiently. They believe if they keep their head down, if they remain loyal to a system, if they put in the hours, eventually fortune will reward them. But what happens after 40 years of that? They end up with just enough to survive, a pile of memories filled with work they hated, and the bitter taste of regret for never daring to break free. Hard work without leverage is a trap, and the rich know this. Look around you. The people who sweat the most, who grind day and night, are often the poorest, while the people who seem to move effortlessly, who sit in the positions of ownership, are the ones who collect the wealth. Why? Because wealth does not reward labor. Wealth rewards leverage. Machiavelli would say the man who serves another remains a servant, but the man who commands others becomes the master. This is not just a financial principle, it is a psychological one. Human beings are drawn to leaders. They crave certainty. They want someone to show them direction. And when you can step into that role, when you display boldness and certainty, even in the face of risk, people give you their trust, and with their trust comes their money. The average person fails because they never step into that role. They wait for permission. They seek approval. They want safety. But safety is slow, and in the game of wealth, slow is death. If you want to rise quickly, you must be willing to leave safety behind. You must see fear not as a signal to stop, but as a signal you are standing at the edge of power. The truth is that fortune rewards the bold, not the cautious. Think of those who suddenly appear to become rich overnight. From the outside, it looks like magic, like fate smiled on them for no reason. But if you study closely, you see the pattern. Their rise was not random, it was designed. They moved when others hesitated. They claimed opportunities while everyone else was still thinking. They understood that waiting is poison, and that the fastest way to riches is to act faster than doubt. The problem is that most people let hesitation control their lives. They wait until the timing feels perfect, until they have more money saved, until the risk looks smaller. But in waiting, they lose everything, because someone else, less afraid, already took the chance. And when that person rises, the timid ones call it luck. They never see the truth. It was not luck, it was speed. Machiavelli taught that opportunity is like a woman, bold and wild, favoring those who act with force and courage. What does that mean for you? It means if you want wealth quickly, you cannot tiptoe your way forward. You must strike, even if the path is unclear. You must move, even if fear is loud in your mind. Because the act of moving, the act of showing certainty, is what draws wealth to you. People invest in leaders, not in dreamers. They give money to those who act, not to those who hesitate. And the moment you act decisively, you separate yourself from the majority, who are stuck in hesitation. This is the psychology that builds riches faster than any job or savings account ever could. But let's go deeper. Why does boldness translate into money? Why does power attract wealth? The answer lies in human nature. People want to be close to power. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves. When you project confidence, when you create the image of strength, people willingly hand over their loyalty. They invest in you because they believe you will lead them to victory. And once you control that trust, you can multiply it endlessly. That is how empires are built. Not on the back of endless hard work, but on the perception of certainty. In this world, perception is often more powerful than truth. A man who appears unshakable will attract more opportunities than a man who is truly skilled but timid. Machiavelli understood this and said it plainly. It is better to appear strong than to be strong. In the game of wealth, this principle is gold. If you look like a commander, people treat you like one. If you look like a servant, they will keep you there forever. The reason most never get rich fast is because they never change their appearance in the eyes of others. They keep acting small, and the world treats them as small. Now consider the consequence of refusing to play this game. If you cling to safety, if you choose the slow path, you will find yourself trapped in a cycle that you cannot escape. You will give your energy to building someone else's fortune, while your own life slips away. You will wake up decades later, realizing you gave your best years to a system that never cared about you. This is not wealth. It is slavery, disguised as stability. And the saddest part is that most people accept it because they are too afraid to make bold moves. They think the price of risk is too high. But the truth is that the price of safety is much higher. It costs you your life, your time, your chance at power. If you want the fastest road to riches, you must flip this thinking. You must understand that the true risk is staying where you are. The true danger is working a lifetime only to die with regret. Machiavelli would remind you that fortune is won by the daring, not the patient. You cannot wait for the perfect time. You must seize the imperfect moment and make it your own. And when you do, you will discover something shocking. The world starts to bend. Opportunities appear. People who once ignored you now want to work with you. Investors seek you out. Customers line up. Partners chase you. And what has changed? Not the world, but your psychology. The moment you chose boldness over safety, you triggered the law of attraction that pulls wealth toward power. This is why the rise looks sudden. It is not sudden. It is the result of years of preparation meeting one decisive move. And once you make that move, you leave the crowd behind. You stop being invisible and you become undeniable. This is the first law of fast wealth. Power creates money faster than labor ever will. The man who dares commands, and the one who commands collects. That is the Machiavellian path to riches. Now let's dig deeper into the darker truth most people never dare to face. The fastest way to wealth is not only about boldness, it is about mastering the silent art of influence. Money does not simply follow power, it follows perception, belief, and desire. People do not hand over their wealth because you deserve it. They hand it over because you make them feel something. You make them believe you are the answer to their problems, the key to their freedom, the leader they were waiting for. And here is where psychology becomes the true weapon. If you want to rise quickly, you must stop thinking about money as numbers and start seeing it as emotion. Every dollar that moves in this world is tied to a feeling. People spend to escape pain or to chase pleasure. They buy not because of logic, but because of desire. And when you can master desire, when you can create a vision that makes people feel alive, they will empty their pockets for you. This is why Machiavelli said that appearances matter more than reality. You do not need to be the most skilled. You need to appear as the one who holds the solution. If you appear as the cure, the world will treat you like the cure. But if you appear as ordinary, no one will notice you, no matter how much truth you hold. To move fast in wealth, you must master the stage of perception. People are drawn to drama, to boldness, to mystery. They are not drawn to the quiet worker who simply does his job. This is why the most successful are often the most controversial. They create strong emotions, they polarize, they make the world pay attention. And when the world is watching, wealth follows. The ones who rise quickly are not afraid of being disliked. They understand that hatred is often just the other side of fascination. If people are talking about you, whether in anger or admiration, you have already won. Because attention is the currency that buys all others. If you can command attention, you can command money. But here is where the psychology grows even sharper. To command attention, you must know what people secretly crave. And what do they crave? They crave certainty in a world full of confusion. They crave leaders who speak clearly while everyone else hesitates. They crave stories that make sense of their suffering. If you can give them this, you own them. And when you own their belief, you own their wallets. This is the ruthless truth of power and wealth. It is not about fairness, it is about influence. Most people will resist this idea because they want to believe the world is fair. They want to believe money goes to the hardest workers, that life rewards the good. But history and psychology prove otherwise. Money flows to those who can control the minds of others. If you can shape belief, you can shape reality. This is why the rich get richer, because they do not just work, they orchestrate. They create systems, narratives, and movements that pull money toward them like a magnet. And those who cannot see this remain trapped as servants, slaves to their emotions and illusions. Now here is the painful part. If you want fast wealth, you must be willing to play this game. You cannot stay pure and untouched by it, because the game will play you regardless. Either you learn to influence or you become the one who is influenced. Either you use psychology or psychology uses you. There is no middle ground. The problem is that most people are terrified of this truth. They want to stay comfortable, to avoid manipulation, to live in a safe little bubble where everyone is honest and kind. But that bubble does not exist. Every advertisement, every speech, every image you see is already shaping your mind. You are already inside the game. The only question is whether you will remain a pawn or rise to become the player. If you choose to rise, you must embrace something most people run from. You must embrace the mask. Machiavelli wrote that it is not necessary to be truly virtuous, but it is necessary to appear virtuous. Why? Because people judge by appearances, not by reality. If you appear confident, they believe you are confident. If you appear successful, they believe you are successful. And belief is stronger than truth in the human mind. The greatest leaders of history knew this. They wore masks that fit the moment, masks that made them look larger than life. They understood that people do not follow the quiet reality of who you are. They follow the image of who you seem to be. And so if you want wealth, you must design your image carefully. You must look like the master before you become the master. You must act rich before you have riches. You must project strength, even when you feel doubt. Because people will only invest in you if you appear unshakable. They will not give money to someone who looks weak, confused, or desperate. They give money to those who look like they already have everything under control. And here lies the paradox. To get rich fast, you must act as if you are already rich. This is not about lying. It is about embodying. It is about creating the perception that attracts the reality. When you do this, doors open, people follow, and opportunities appear that never existed before. The moment you shift your image, you shift your world. This is why those who rise fast seem to come out of nowhere. It is not nowhere. It is the result of mastering appearances, influence, and timing. But let's not pretend this is easy. The path is heavy with risk, and failure will haunt you at every corner. You will face ridicule, envy, and betrayal. People will call you arrogant, selfish, even dangerous, but remember this. Every great rise is met with resistance. The world does not give you power willingly. You must take it, and when you do, they will fight you. But if you can endure their resistance, if you can keep moving forward despite their hatred, you will rise above them. Because most people break under criticism, and when you refuse to break, you separate yourself from the masses forever. The fastest way to riches is not a path of comfort, it is a path of endurance. Those who can endure criticism, rejection, and fear are the ones who win. And here is the final truth. Fast wealth is not just about money, it is about transformation. To rise quickly, you must transform yourself into someone others cannot ignore. You must become larger than life, a force of nature, a symbol of boldness. And when you become that, money follows like a shadow. Machiavelli would say, "Fortune belongs to those who dare, But even more, it belongs to those who dare to control not only others but themselves. Self-control is the foundation of all influence. If you cannot control your fear, your greed, your doubt, then you will never control others. The one who can master himself can master the world. And so the lesson is clear. The fastest way to riches is not hidden in numbers or luck, it is hidden in psychology and influence, in masks, in boldness, in the relentless will to rise even when the world pushes you down. That is how empires are built. That is how fortunes are made, and that is the only way to escape the slow death of mediocrity.